Holy crap, I actually have the house to myself. Who would have thought? And it's pretty freezing outside, but and he made it in to show the description of what I saw would change my life, and it sure is close. Really close. But that's definitely how it went down. It went down with that September blue sky, and with everything beside you, the timber is jet black, and all I can see is that crisp outline. What an amazing gift. Randy, thank you very, very much for that. Absolutely appreciate it. I don't know how I'm going to feel glancing up at that every once in a while, because unfortunately it takes you right back to that moment, right? What I saw was more, he's actually even down a little bit more to the ground, but that is very, very accurate to what I looked up and saw looking at me. And this picture makes it look like it was a lot farther away than it was. It was a lot closer than that to me that evening. Thank you so much, man. I'll be hanging that up in the man cave for certain. What a kind thing to do. I got one more here I'm going to open up real quick. And this comes from, I know what this is. This comes from a man in Quesnel, British Columbia, an older man, a fellow outdoorsman. And he has been watching this channel. I believe he's had some experiences as well. I think he might have shared them with me. I just haven't had a chance to get them shared with you yet. Actually, I'm sure, certain he has. And I have a feeling you're probably watching this too. And what a generous, kind gift this is. And this is, I believe, is a fishing reel. This man, outdoorsman, is in his mid-80s now. And he's passed this item on to me. And I promised him I would keep it wet. And I will catch a steelhead with this, and I'm going to start tomorrow with it. And he gave me some flies too. Look at that. Look at this. What could possibly be considered as an antique, by now, fishing reel. Look at this. What an amazing gift. It attaches onto your rod here. And there's a hole right there. So as the reel spins, you can govern it by just pressing on the spindle there to govern the line going out, in and out. Single action reel. What an amazing gift, and I'm absolutely honored to receive this, and I will continue to use it. And I will pass this on to someone as well. Thank you so much for this gift, sir. I will put it to good use, and I will be posting up the results without a doubt. And I will try these flies that you passed on to me as well. You tied up for me. That's really something else. Thank you so much. Look at that. I'll give some close-ups of this after. I don't even know if I want to take it outside. I just want to put it on the wall. But I will put this to use. I'm going to put some fresh line on it this afternoon, and I'm going to try this tomorrow morning and the morning after that. Alright, here we go. Time to get some voices heard. I didn't go outside. I can't take it inside. Heater's going up right beside the chair. The sound of the heater drives me bonkers. So here we are, out here with the animals. I'm sure I'm going to get tormented by these goats, but whatever. Okay, I'm going to mark this as red. This is titled Running with the Deer. Greetings, Steve. This is by far one of the best channels in BoobTube. It has opened my eyes to a world beyond comprehension. I began watching your channel build up the courage and insight to get out and hunt. Coming from an inner city background, my knowledge is lacking, but that's not going to stop me. My own experience with the wilderness is running. I've been running for decades now. Running in the woods was a favorite pastime. Everyone pretty much knows I love to run. When I speak about the topic, I sometimes mention to people I ran with deer. This happened many years ago, and this was all I could recall about that day or days until Fast forward 20 years for a moment. I'm a father, property owner of raw wooded land. I found your channel before you spoke about Sasquatch and this, about Sasquatch this, Sasquatch that. I found it very entertaining. And then the stories had me like, whoa, that happened to me. And that happened to me. The usual rocks hitting the roof of a cabin I built, and broken and bent trees and something scratching my tent, and being frozen stiff as my body felt pressed down the first and only time camping at my land. None compared to what I experienced 20 years ago. Now I'm going to give up my identity and give a bunch of mundane, and give a bunch of mundane details that need to be said. One night a couple months ago, I had a dream. It was a dreadful experience, an old deserted place I felt I owned and had to go to. But every time I went to my lot, I got a dreadful terror come over me like I don't belong here and I need to leave before I'm consumed. Next couple of weeks, I told my wife that that lot was way too familiar. I couldn't get my mind off that lot. Then the aha moment. I know where that is. I've been there. 1999, Southern Illinois University. Shout out to my Salukas. My first time being away from home. This university sits amongst the Shawnee National Forest, touted as the most beautiful campus in the country. Being it was my first time away from home and transferring from another school, I elected to stay at Neely Hall, a dorm for older students. I give these details as I'm hoping to gain the attention of my old roommates to fill the missing blanks. Shout out to Matt, Frank, and Rocco. Now that I got someone's attention, maybe they can fill in the blanks. It was an orientation week and classes had not started. I was overwhelmed and had no concept of time. And that being said, on a Tuesday or Wednesday, I went for a run. It was very hot. Sun was blazing down midday. I didn't have much of any idea where I was going, but I ran through the campus trying to stay in the most shaded areas. I ran through campus begging for shade the entire time. I finally got to the back edge of the campus, past the radio tower, medical building, and I finally saw a wooded trail. Yes. I went into this trail and I didn't last long before the trail ended at a very old, cracked asphalt lot. From what I can remember, I believe a deserted farmhouse was to the right, but I ran with my head down and rarely looked at my surroundings. As I came out of the trail, I looked straight at the old lot and a clear, loud voice in my head commanded, "Turn around." Without question, I obeyed. I didn't even question what just happened. I turned to walk back into the trail I came out of. As I was walking, a conversation started in my head. I said to myself, I don't want to go back that way, shaking my head, not actually comprehending why any of this is going on. I turned back around to walk out of the trail to face what now became this terrible, eerie lot. At this time, I never was one to stop running in the middle of my runs, but I stood in front of this lot for a moment. Why? I still haven't a clue. I then said to myself, F it, and started chopping short steps up the incline to the top of this lot as the lot sat nearly 6 foot higher than the bottom of the ditch that surrounded it. At the time, I could actually see the top of the lot. As I came up, my head was pointed down, only looking no more than 3 feet ahead. A great, dreadful terror came and overwhelmed my body. I felt this dread and heat of the day for about 10 feet. Next thing I know, I'm feeling great. I see a 3 foot wide dead tree laying on its side at the edge of the lot. I decide to run towards it and jump on it. I then see a beautiful evergreen trail down below as I'm on top of the log. Yes, I felt great. No heat, no dread. I entered the trail and it was euphoric, clean and fully shaded. As I traveled down the trail, as many as 20 deer entered onto the trail and surrounded me. What? At this time I could run a 17.5-minute 5K and a 4.5-minute mile. The deer literally ran lockstep with me. They were so close I could stick my elbow out and touch them, 2 in front, 1 each side. The rest trailed behind until they eventually passed me just before we came out into the open field that turned out to be the sports fields. I was so overwhelmed by the deer, I totally blanked on the dreadful part of the run for over 20 years. I eventually made it back to the dorm. One of my 3 roommates was in the room when I got back. I told him I just ran with a herd of deer. I barely remember his response. I believe he told me I'd gone for an entire day. I allegedly never made it back to the dorm that night. I believe I remembered being like, what are you talking about? I just got back from a run. I laid down confused and ignored what he said. Being that everything was new and different, I just met these guys. I never got a second thought. Now, new school, new experience, it was easy to blank out what just happened. So I laid down and took a nap as I was very exhausted. The only reason I dwell on the possibility of being missing is I recall the time I entered the dreadful lot was very hot, and I exited the lot. It felt like everything, time and the sun was setting. Hopefully, whoever was in the room can contact me or this channel and say you are crazy or I was not missing for a day to keep my sanity. But I'm not holding my breath as my memory of this came back bit by bit with clarity. I clearly remember the dread, the turnaround, the deer and a confusing conversation with one of my roommates. Something's telling me something happened in the middle of this lot and I was never meant to remember, and I'll probably never remember or want to remember. But if I were gone for a day, I'm glad to be back and not a missing 411 case. Thank you, Steve, for all you do. It's making a difference or making me a lunatic. As now, I'm slightly fearful of the woods. You can call me by my boob tube name, Al Wilson. There's enough details for those that know who I am to know that it's me. P.S. For the longest time, I could not relate to people's experiences until I recalled mine. The dread we describe as not fear. Dread is coming home to your house being burglarized or a loved one gone times 1,000 versus the fear of it happening. You cannot imagine it, only experience it. Al, that's one hell of a freaking experience, man. Dave Platter's probably interested in that one for sure, by the sounds of that one. That's definitely a weird one. Hopefully somebody hears this and remembers or knows or has something to say or something similar, and they can comment back in the comment section below or even try to email me anyway, you know? Moving along with my furry audience. Just titled previous email. Steve, a few days ago I sent you an email about Muddy Creek in Pennsylvania. Excuse me. I was kind of surprised to hear you reading it 2 days later, and it definitely felt like a bit of weight lifted off my shoulders. Even my wife of 48 years never believed me and gave me shit about it. So I stopped bringing it up years ago. Thanks for that. Imagine my surprise when I heard you reading a different letter only a day later from somebody else about the same place. He described its location precisely, much more than I had, and added geographic details that were beyond doubt. You can't begin to know how damn good that felt. I've gone 47 years without anything that proved I knew what to be true. I don't make a habit of telling lies. I raised 5 kids the same way. The only word I can use to describe it is liberated. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity and the venue. On a related note, the crap that they're shoveling about the current health issue is horrendous. A dear friend of mine from Florida just told me that their youngest son was told by work that he would be fired if he didn't take it. He gave in 2 weeks ago and was immediately very ill. 1 week later, last Monday, he died in her arms. A healthy outdoors, hard-working kid, about the same age as my youngest, who was 28 and the same. He told me the other day that he took it too. I'm effing terrified now. I watch him like a hawk when he's home. He works outdoors 12 hours a day. I can't help but feel that he'll be going through what Dave P. is going through sometime. I can't help but feel that we will be going through what Dave P. is going through sometime soon. I feel very strongly that the shift is coming on quickly. I have no doubt that I will not balk at what must be done. If anything, this is just additive emphasis to my feelings about these rat bastards. I was SWAT for 14 years, and I will send a clear message if they come. If you want to read this, no problem. If not, no problem. This is just to say thank you on both issues you talk about. You're what we always called a stand-up guy. I'm glad you're on the planet. Please try to stay on the planet, not in it. You said that you felt like your time is running out. I hope you're wrong, but if not, we will meet in Valhalla and drink to the spirit of men. Yes, we will. Thank you so much for that email. My condolences go out to the family, the young man, and it's a sad, sad story. Sadly, a common one right now. Makes me on fire. Here we go with another one. For all you people that claim it takes forever to find the emails, you can email experience into tellmystory@howtohunt.com or share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where they go, right? South Dakota Sabe is the title of this email. Dear Steve, been watching your videos for close to 2 years now. I enjoy everything you have to say. I agree with your rants and live in the backdrops. And I love the backdrops, alright? I'm not a big outdoorsy person. In my youth, I rode horses and entered horse shows and hunter classes, so I enjoy the outdoors. Then I went to college in New York City and stayed there a long time. I developed first multiple sclerosis and then rheumatoid arthritis. That sucks. Eventually I had to go on disability and I moved to the Black Hills of South Dakota to be near family. It's beautiful here. I wanted to partake of the outdoors as much as possible. So I bought a pair of hiking sticks and set up to explore some of the easier hiking trails in the area. My sister and I took a couple of her nephews on the Strata Bowl Trail in late March, early April a couple years ago. There were patches of snow still in the woods and muddy patches on the trail that were drying up. I was hobbling along behind everybody and I saw a very large bare foot imprint in the middle of one of these muddy patches. It was perpendicular to the trail as if someone was stepping across the trail. It wasn't huge, but I estimated it was at least a men's size 12 or 13. I stared at it and immediately looked around, but saw nothing. The trees were not leafed out yet, and what few birds there were sounded far away. So I don't know if the silence of the woods was normal for that time of year. There were a lot of people out that day, many accompanied by dogs, yet this fresh-looking footprint in the mud was not messed up. So my point in writing is that I'd like to hear if people have had encounters in the Black Hills or South Dakota in general. I haven't had much luck finding out anything online, and the Native American people here are inclined to keep to themselves, with good reason, when you learn the history of what happened here. No doubt. Just curious. Love your channel. Would like to know the cat's name. He or she seems to like your studio. Regards, Jill Jones. The cat's name is Max. Max seems to think that he owns me at nighttime. It's pretty funny. Thanks for that email, and hopefully your questions will possibly be answered in the comment section below. And if I had to bet, I'd bet the farm that there's other experiences there for certain. Too bad you didn't snap a picture of that footprint. But it is what it is, right? There's no shortage of pictures of the footprints. This next one's titled Sabe People. Hello again, Steve. My name is Ernest Zamora. I'd like to thank you for your upfront for all you do for the people and the Sabe people. After you read my story, you mentioned footprints and anything else I could remember. So here goes what I forgot to say. As far as his head goes, I didn't see a cone head as others have witnessed and published. The air was still and effing cold, 19 below zero. I never smelled any pungent odor at all. When he turned around, he walked away. All I could hear was heavy, heavy footfall as he walked away. No footprints because the ground was frozen solid. Remember that it was in the middle of winter. The other bit of truth I want to add, because you yourself bring it up yourself, I'd like to make a suggestion to further along enlightenment for the people. I suggest to you and the people to watch the movie Dark Legacy. Remember that I told you that I was deployed to Central America? Black Ops shit? It'll open your eyes. I was unplugged from the Matrix back then. Good luck in the woods and keep your head on a swivel. Stay alert, stay alive. If you ever travel to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, I'll cook you and your party a good steak and an ice cold beer. Ernest Zamora. Alright man, thanks for that invite. I'll take you up on that steak and beer if I make my way down there again. For sure. You know what? This is a short email from Ernest. It's attached, so I'm going to read this just to make sure we're all on the same page what he just replied with. Alright? It'll only take a few minutes. My name is Ernest Zamora. I live in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada now. Originally, I was born and raised in Colorado. My meeting with a Sabe man took place in a subdevelopment of Fraser, Colorado called Tannernash. In this subdevelopment, you can purchase land plots from 2 to 5 acres. The elevation of the Fraser is around 12,500 feet. These properties are completely enclosed by the forest and the Rocky Mountains. As a matter of fact, one has to travel over Berthoud Pass. It's either Berthoud or Berthoud Pass, 13,500 feet to reach Fraser. That's some background for location. Now a little background on me. I'm 60 now. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran. My job in the Army was a forward observer, 13 Foxtrot. 13 Foxtrot, might be a spello. My mission was to identify enemy targets and destroy them with indirect firepower, i.e. artillery, air support, mortars, and naval gunfire. My qualifications for combat were I was in the 1% of all FOs in skill of my job in the Army. I am bilingual. Perfect for deployment to Central America in 1983. Civilians never knew about that. Black Ops shit, that's my background. My meeting the Sabe man come in the winter of 2001, early December. My ex-wife and I had just finished our last load of my ex-in-law's stuff into their house. Everything absolutely normal for a family moving in. Great supper, good smoke, good times. At 2 a.m. I woke up because I needed to piss. After that, being the smoker that I am, I stepped out onto the deck to have a cigarette. After all, I was wide awake now. As I stepped onto the deck, the motion sensor lights that my ex-father-in-law installed came to life. With my eyes adjusting to the deck light and from lighting my cigarette, I spotted what I thought was a bear. It did make a sound, but I did notice the double-headed axe on the woodpile next to my father-in-law left out, just in case I needed it. As I watched, thinking this was a bear, the Sabe man stood up. I immediately went into battle mode. I grabbed the axe, held it in one hand, cigarette in the other, and told him that all I want to do is smoke my cigarette and not fight. But if I must fight, he may kill me in the end. Not before I'd put that axe in between his ribs just below his armpit. Now this might sound comical to you, but I was scared shitless. But as always, Army training kicked in and I held my fear in check. The Sabe man was an effing giant, and I mean giant. He had to be taller than 10 feet, and I'm estimating his weight to be in the excess of 1,000 pounds. Long black hair on his legs, arms, and back. Just like a human has hair on our bodies, but nowhere near as long. At the shoulders, he had to be 6 feet wide. Here's the real creepy part. After telling him what I said, he looked down on me, smiled, and then gave me a chin nod, turned around, and casually walked back into the black forest. I was stunned. I was in shock. I finished my cigarette, shaking uncontrollably. This is at 2 a.m., 19 degrees below zero, almost at the Continental Divide. What prompted me to write to you was the video you shared about Bobby Short's interview with Paul, the Cheyenne man. His description of what he killed is the same as my Sabe man. After that, I took this experience as a nod from the old man of the forest as a sign of respect. The mountains are theirs. The urban jungle is mine, and it's a good trade. Thank you sincerely for creating a platform to share this without being labeled a crackpot, fool, or liar. Please don't ever back down from those idiots who are afraid to believe in the realm of possibility. Stay alert, stay alive. Ernest Zamora. Ernest, appreciate that, man. Share it again. I remember that story. Thanks for the follow-up. Appreciate that, too. Hope it didn't take too long to get to it. All right. Here comes another one. A fellow federal officer's experience. Steve, I've written you before. I have had no experiences, nor have I personally ever seen one of these beings. In my last email, I shared 2 stories that were told to me by very credible friends. I have another experience that was told to me in the early of this morning, 1 a.m., as we were chatting while on duty. I'll call my co-worker friend Jay. Now, I've worked with him for over a year, so we were catching up. He was so happy to be starting his vacation this coming week, and he was going muzzleloader hunting for elk. I asked him where he was going to hunt, and he told me the area where my friend and his brother observed a being at a high mountain lake. My tone changed in my voice, and I told him that I'd hunted that area before, but didn't ever want to go hunt that area again. Now understand that he and I never discussed anything about Sasquatch. He noticed a change in my demeanor, and what he told me next was very powerful and very scary. He said an incident in that area a couple of years prior had scared him so bad he never went there alone. He told me that he was making his way down a wooded draw when he noticed that it was dead quiet, eerie. As soon as he noticed the silence, he started to smell that he explained was so pungent that it hit his senses so intense that his eyes and nose started burning. He said it smelled like dead, rotting flesh on top of a full landfill. He then came across a scat pile. He explained that the pile was the size of what a horse would crap. The pile was long, and he actually said it looked just like a person had taken 2 to 3 craps all at one time. I know that sounds bad, but he also said the crap had a red tinge that looked like blood. He told me he was hurrying to get out of the area when he soon came upon an area that was trampled down like a herd of elephants had been in the area. He said it looked like a game trail, just a lot wider. The trail wasn't far from where the scat was, but he saw 2 deer partially torn apart right off the trail. He told me that Very next year, he took a friend to that same area, and it was the same way, only more deer carcasses piled up. His friend got so scared that he ran out of the area. Thanks for all you do, Steve. I hope you understand that thousands of people have been free now, that they have been able to tell the story, along with the trust you promised them. You've started a movement. A very large group of people respect and follow you, and now people are sharing more than just encounters with these beings. I think we as a group can help each other, no matter the problem. Since being welcomed here, I feel more empowered, and it brings a very warm feeling that we can change things, and that we can do it as one. Thank you, and God bless Jake. Thank you, Jake. That's a very good email into us. Appreciate that. And that's not the first time we've heard of people coming across these what I think somebody just recently emailed and called a killing field. I've had other people email me direct from not too far from here, finding a whole pile of bear parts in a weird tunnel in the bushes, and they were going to go in there. The poor guy was thinking it was a huge black bear, was going to go in there and put a trail camera in there, see if he could catch it on film, dragging all of his other dead bears in this one pile. We all know that's not what it was, but I never heard back from him yet either. That was a while ago. It'd be interesting to see if maybe you guys wanted to go back up there. Maybe 2 or 3 of you, just bring some heat with you and possibly see if things are still going on there and get a picture of that. That'd be something else to see, wouldn't it? Or not, right? Go with your gut. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Especially just because I sent out a minor request. And keep it coming in, man. If you get more information that you want to share with all the people through me, keep sharing it. Keep sharing it to me, and I'll keep sharing it with everybody word for word. All right? I'm going to get one more shared here, and then I'm going to go in before my fingers freeze off. I don't know if you can tell, but it's cold out here right now. Okay, what do we got? An old memory plus. All right, mark this as red. Excuse me. Steve, first want to say I love your videos. These are new to me and I can't stop watching. I just heard you make an anti-science comment, to which I do take exception. I don't think the problem is science. That's the attempts to understand the world in which we live. We're all born scientists when you think about it. The problem is not science, but dogma attached to theory. There appears to be fear equated with changing life paradigms for these folks. Fear being the theme. Humans are totally controlled by fear. I love to hear you speak about being fearless. I'm a therapist for a living, and believe you me, I know these words to be powerful. Have no fear. It occurs to me that Sasquatch is under our noses, and we don't even know they're there. When I was a very young child, mid-60s, 5 years old, I would get our old hunting dog and go walk in the woods. No fear. I have a memory of the dog disappearing, getting the shivers, everything got quiet, and feeling the urge to run, haul ass, all the way home. Of course, there the dog sat under a shade tree when I got there. There the dog sat under a shade tree when I got there, bless his heart. I remember that instinct, that sixth sense. I recall the neighbors talking with my folks about hearing strange screams in the night, like someone was being killed type of screams, emanating from the woods out back. They concluded it was cats fighting. In my old age, it occurs to me that we've all heard cats fight. We know that sound. Neighbors do not congregate about cats fighting. The screams were clearly outside what they knew. Is this why the dog ran home and I felt overwhelming fear? There are many things that occur to me about the sightings. More importantly, the responses to the sightings. Images become distorted with fear. The object of fear can become larger, louder, etc. Linear. Time is out the window. 10 seconds feels like an hour, or even stand still. I work with trauma victims, so I'm familiar with this. The definition of trauma, in part, includes real or perceived threat. I have no doubt in my heart and mind that these beings are real. Just the sheer number of reports is enough to convince me. I hear more from soldiers/military people trained in functioning through unimaginable, horrific events. Their eyes for the details so far is eye-opening. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for reminding me about instincts. Respectfully, Gene C. Gene, thank you for sending your email in. It's very kind of you, generous. You take your time to email everybody, all right? Now, I gotta go. I got a lot of batteries to charge. I got gear to tie up. I got to get that old line up that fishing reel over there and get a new line on it and see if it just might be carrying some good angling luck with it still. I'm excited to do that and videotape the results. I'm gonna make Sarah go fishing in the freezing cold tomorrow. That ought to be good. That was part of the deal to be able to go away. Said, okay, I'll take you away for the weekend, but you got to get up and go fishing in the morning. I'll be back. Stay up to date on the world events, the honest ones. Here we go, king of the hill. Come on, get up here. Non-stop.